Nice fall day, to be precise. Barry Allen, better known as the Flash, got an invitation he wasn't expecting at all. The letter, printed on thick black parchment, was simple yet ominous. To the world's fastest man alive, you are hereby invited to participate in the greatest event in your life. Come alone. The Mirror Master. Barry's first thought was to just look the other way and pretend he did not notice it. His archenemies were known to be Mirror Master, a villain who specialized in tricking his enemies into a world made of mirrors. Nevertheless, there was something in the invitation that appeared to appeal to him. If the situation was a trap, his enemy would be prepared. Time to pay a visit, Barry grumbled as he bureaucratically threw the letter away and changed into his famous red suit. He pulled sharply and was soon cruising towards the coordinates written on the envelope. When Barry arrived, he awaked in front of an enormous palace of stone, the doors of which opened silently to let him know they were waiting for him. Behind was a large hall with mirrors of all types and forms. In the room they touched the walls, the ceiling, and the floor, the junior spitting berries as far as my eyes could see. Clearly discernible for some, and quite blurred for others, but all of the images created the same feeling of disorientation. The reflections turned the tables and distorted his figure. He narrowly felt himself to be an already caught fugitive. "Mirror Master?" Barry called, his voice being very loud within the hall and large corridors of the establishment. No one spoke. The only thing one could hear were the mirrors swiveling around in their mounts as if the object itself were animated. Suddenly an unfamiliar voice sounded, sarcastic and in the same language the girl spoke. "Welcome, Flash. Although you cannot choose where your life will lead you, soon you will be entering the chosen maze belonging to me. These words will give you light if you are swift enough to find the way out." The tiles beneath Barry's feet vibrated and the old mirrors on the wall changed their position, swinging towards him to form a hall of mirrors. He felt the walls closing in on him, and paths moving close to each other, making him crawl and do somersaults in a hall that seemed to be endlessly twisting on itself. For once his speed was proved useful in avoiding the walls, but the reflection grew exponentially. Some of the mirrors depicted him at some previous times, his sins, his anxieties, his hesitations. Some represented the people he cared about in peril, or more sinister versions of the things he would come to most regret. Nevertheless, the newbie's feeling of discomfort increasing with every new moment, Barry continued his attempts. He couldn't allow the Obrazovsky to get in the way of the performance. He had learned all fakes of Mirror Master before, therefore was aware of the fake and the real thing. This state gradually produced infinite observers in the vanity, each of which was Barry, who performed movements distinctively. It spread out in every possible way. Some went head to head, some stopped, as if expecting the real Barry to make his move. He didn't know which one was the real him. Which one is the Flash? The raspy laugh of Mirror Master filled the room from the mirrors. Barry hesitated, most likely to have some time for the illusions to surround him. But then he focused. He felt inside him, or rather above and beyond him, looking for the correct pace for the pulse. All of a sudden he outran all the false echoes, leaving them behind. He went deeper into it, and every passage was more complicated than the previous one. It was as if the walls of the buildings were getting higher, the paths slicker. Finally Barry reached a dead end, a hall with numerous mirrors made in a circle. At the middle was Mirror Master, who looked like he was walking with his shadow and its doppelganger moving in a roundhouse motion. "Well done, Flash," Mirror Master said, quite slowly as he clapped. "But you've made a mistake. There's no way out." Barry assessed the mirrors around him, and in his head, uneasiness started to creep in. He knew that Mirror Master trick was very well. The mirror was a symbol of evil, not because the villain was able to change the mirror into people, but because it changed people's perception of reality. The maze was a psychological test and not used for physical examination as it is designed to be. The man glanced at the mirrors on the walls. "All these mirrors, they're just lies," Barry said, his tone decisive. Mirror Master just smiled more broadly. "Lies? Or is this how you want the world to perceive you? Or are they indications of your real self? Choice making defines you, Flash. The choices you had ever made, the losses you had ever incurred, the mistakes which you had made in your life define you." Barry's mind raced. He knew Mirror Master was the one interested to bring out his doubt in him, to make him unstable. Barry has come to find out what the real gimmick of Mirror Master is. It is the fear that has been exploited. Thus quickly Barry shut his eyes and stopped letting the reflections enter his field of mind. He drew on the speed force, the only thing that he knew powered him. It was not mirrors that were his complex. It was the false shade of himself that he had to look at. In a moment of focus and an instant of quickness, Barry broke all those mirrors near him, one at a time. The dazzling glass wall collapsed and the room literally came down. When the boy opened his eyes, the mirrors are not marked again. The labyrinth had vanished. He was standing in a sunny meadow alone, freeing from the confining maze. In front of him stood Mirror Master, and Rook observed that each step the man took skewed Mirror Master's reflection ever so slightly. "Thank you, Mr. Mirror Master," Flash replied, smiling as sarcastically as the man facing him. "You've passed my test. But bear this in mind, you will always be chasing something, even if you are running as fast as you can. So the reflections will always be behind you." Barry looked at his opponent, his breaths becoming deeper and deeper. "Not if I face them head on." With that he turned and ran away from Mirror Master, who was left standing there. The villain's voice faded, but Barry knew the lesson had been learned, in many ways. The real issue was not with eradicating his previous and his phobias, but with living with those and going further. Thinking of the maze he just left behind while running, such a sight met Barry's eyes and he stopped in his tracks. Mirrors were not the problem, it was the reflection of himself that he found terrifying. However, now every step he took brought him more to the point of departure from those dreams and closer to the reality. Faster than ever before.